Live, preparing. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. It is a Monday morning. Welcome to Halal Stock Hunters. Looking for gems in the stock market. My name is Afiq, Chief Finance Ninja at Fast Free Finance. This is my fantastic good buddy
RD here from ProTraders Network, and with Afiq, we're going to cover a couple of stocks today, and hopefully we'll uncover a couple of gems. If not, it's always good to monitor the markets, especially before it starts to open tonight. Right, Afiq?
Absolutely. I mean, it is Monday mornings. We are going to be shifting Halal Stock Hunters to Monday mornings, so that we can start our week right. We can review the previous week, what happened in the previous week. We talk about market updates, market sentiments, and we were looking at our watch list. And so, folks, if you've been reading the news, you know that a lot of things have been happening in the market. Tech sectors went down and then went up again. A lot of counters are going up. The Fed talks about interest rates. We look at employment data. We look at production numbers. And very interestingly enough, what do we do when everything is super, super high? So today, I'm going to look at two of the counters that we actually spoke about much earlier on, and we had actually put them into our watch list. Now, when we put them into our watch list, it basically means we want to look when's a good time to buy in. Now, these stocks have already been screened to be halal, and we did that. And so, folks, if you're watching, you need to do that yourself as well. Do your own due diligence, please. We do this for entertainment as well as educational purposes. It is not a recommendation for you to buy any of these stocks. And so, I was talking to Adi, we were saying, hey, some of our counters that we put on the watch list did not hit our target buy price. It did not come back down. It's just been going up and up and up and up. And are we feeling the FOMO? Frankly, sometimes I also feel the FOMO, like, oh, should we buy in? And a lot of the times it's reaching, 1-year highs, all-time highs. Is it still safe to buy? That, I trust, is one of the biggest things that, that goes through your head as you start looking at all these charts and numbers, right? And so one of the counters that we're looking at right now is actually Moderna. Right, and Moderna, as you know, creates vaccines. They're one of the few companies that create vaccines and being distributed worldwide. And so, if you look at the numbers, it looks very, very nice. Should we be buying in? And so, I had a very long discussion with Adi about Moderna, and here he is to share a little bit about why Moderna might be a good buy or avoid entirely. Adi, all yours.
Right, Afiq, thank you so much. I'm just going to share my screen. And yep, so we have Moderna in front of us right now. It's on the weekly time frame. And as you can see, we did mark our charts, right? Around the 185 level is basically the resistance. And we first actually started monitoring this particular stock on the 30th of May. Okay, so we have like more than a month, right? On monitoring this particular stock. And at this point, price after breaking above the resistance level continued to actually rise for the next 2 weeks, and it fell for 1 week before reversing back to the upside for the next 2 weeks. However, the last week, what we see right here is a price action candle, which actually shows a hanging man. All right, so a hanging man candle can be quite a risky candle to a candlestick setup, right? Basically, it could mean that the price for the following week might fall. So if you are going to look into buying Moderna, I guess you got to be careful of this particular setup, candlestick setup, or you can call it price action setup. And because you see a hanging man like that, the next candle could just basically just go lower. And wouldn't it be better actually to be buying the stock at cheaper prices, right? So if we are going to be buying Moderna, I think the area where we should be looking at to buy is basically around the 185 zone, right? So because once this resistance has been broken, there is it may be retested again, and then after that price might continue to the upside. So at this point, I believe that it is not a good idea to be buying into Moderna right now, but it is still in an uptrend nonetheless, and I feel that this is something that you can be buying in, but not at this point. What do you think, Afiq?
I agree. It is reaching all-time highs. It's touched all-time highs. So here's the thing, right? When we look at it from a fundamentals perspective, is Moderna a good company? I would say emphatically, yes, it is a good company. It's got strong, solid fundamentals. And the fact that they're manufacturing the vaccine is, would be good for a medium-term play as well. And so since the setup looks to be a bit bearish, like what you've mentioned, what do we do? Personally, I'm a very patient person. Remember, when it comes to investing, it's all about being patient. You want to have time in the market versus trying to time the market. Okay. And in this case, as much as I say, be patient and all that, let's be patient. Let's remember that this is an all-time high. The short-term setup shows that it might drop. So let's see whether we can, hit that target buy price, wait for it to come down and then assess again. So Adi, what would be a good target buy price? 183 again?
Somewhere around 183, 185. I wouldn't say it's a single. Okay, this is something that I need to clarify with everyone that's watching. Basically, when we talk about a certain level, we talk about a zone, right? It's better to actually be talking about a zone than just a single price level, because sometimes price can even go lower than that price level, right? So when it comes to this kind of situation, I would say that price between 180 to 185 is where you can be looking to come in. That's for my own personal take, right? So remember, this is again just for educational purposes only, not actually not telling you to go and buy this stock or whatever, right, Afiq?
Yep. As always, folks, our standard disclaimer does apply. Okay. So what Adi has been saying, to me, it makes sense because he's been teaching me a lot. And when it comes to Moderna, I like the company. Frankly, I do like the company, and I'm looking for bargain prices, right? Warren Buffett once said, the best time to make money is when blood is on the streets. And so right now, I'm just waiting in the background, waiting for the blood to start flowing. So it might happen, it might not. And so on that note, you have to look at the rest of your portfolio and look at the rest of the different counters available out there. Moderna isn't the only company on the market. And the next one that we wanted to talk about, which I think is also quite interesting, is actually Nike. And so, Adi, let's talk about Nike for a bit. Now, Nike, as you guys know, is one of the most iconic companies out there. They've been around forever. I remember growing up wanting a pair of Nike shoes, and they don't just do shoes, obviously. They're a whole sports and lifestyle kind of brand. And they're very, very powerful in terms of that brand recognition, right? And when we look at their fundamentals, they far outstrip other competitors in the market. And they are one of the top companies in the sporting wear range for a reason. Now, if we look at Nike, if you look at that particular chart, that jump really, really high up in the past few weeks was very exciting. And it's been on my radar for a while. And so lots of things are going up. And should we be buying in or continue looking for bargains? What do you say, Adi?
Okay, let me just mark my charts first. So at this point, basically we can see that price continue to make new all-time highs for Nike. And I think it's also due to the fact that there's some soccer competitions going on, right? Is it World Cup? Yeah. So it could be due to that, but if it's not just that, Nike shoes, it's a brand, it's a culture, it's part of street culture, pop culture, and there's collectors basically waiting, queuing up outside stores to buy Nike shoes, and the demand seems to always be there, right? It's just like your Coca-Cola, your McDonald's. So this is one stock that that if you buy, eventually the price will continue to rise. So Afiq has done a good job in identifying this as one of the so-called stocks that that is a keeper, basically, right? So for me personally, even if I like that particular stock, I would also always want to buy it when it is retracing, meaning to say when people are selling the stock and I see that it has come to a technical level on the charts, which shows that that is an area of value, right? So we want to be talking about that concept of value, right? Because we know this stock is good, but is it at this point giving us good value? Right? Or can we be buying it at a better price so that, the upside for us is actually more than the downside? So if talking about that point, all right, so what should we be looking at? let me just, okay. So what I'm saying is that if let's say price were to go back to this level, okay, I need to change it to black, right? If price were to go to this level, that is where I see that, that value is there for me to pick up this particular stock. Okay, so you can see that every time when the price goes up, so far we have one situation here whereby it has rise to this high, and then what happened was that it started to go down and up, down and up. Basically, this is a consolidation within a triangle pattern, and then we see that price is actually bottom off around this level, around the 127 level, and then it shoot up, right? So for me, basically, I want to be looking at this particular stock going back down, right? Before I would actually think about buying this particular stock. And my area of value, like I said, is around this zone. This is my area of value, basically within this line here. As long as it touches this line, I would consider putting my buy stop there, and well, wait for it to actually bounce back up. Simple as that.
All right. And so, folks, when it comes to this, like I said earlier, it's being patient. Right? We maintain a watch list of counters to view what happens. Whether it's coming into our value zones, like what Adi says, whether it's coming into our value zones, whether it's too high, whether it's too low. I mean, ultimately, we have to be able to have this conviction that says, okay, I don't mind waiting, or I don't mind firing the gun. In fact, just yesterday, I had this conversation with, I think one of our members in the HIN Facebook group. He had texted me personally, and we had a good long session. We talked about it. And one of his biggest fears was actually pulling the trigger, right? Like, he's done all the research, he's done all the budgeting, he's done everything. He's sure. Okay, I've got enough money here. I'm gonna start investing. I'm reading up. I'm understanding this and that. And then when it comes, there's an opportunity, he's paralyzed. He's like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know whether I should buy. I don't know. And by the time, he decides to buy, the opportunity has passed, right? So, Adi, what do you say? As a trader, as a halal trader yourself, and you see so many opportunities coming in, what's the biggest takeaway based on that young chap yesterday? He was telling me he just can't do it. He can't bring himself to pull the trigger. What would you say?
Okay, basically what you are saying about this person is related to the topic of psychology of traders, or rather trading psychology, right? So when you talk about trading psychology, there are several factors in trading psychology you need to be aware of, right? These are things related to our character, how we feel, our emotions, how it affects our thinking and our action, right? So for this particular person, it's related to the problem of fear. Right? It's not fear of missing out in this case. This person is basically fearful of triggering. He knows that this is a good setup and it's ready for him to actually enter trade. It follows all the rules and that he has, planned for himself in a journal, a trading journal, and it's there actually for him to just press the button. But he's afraid. The reason could be because he's afraid of losing money, number one. Okay, losing money, taking a risk is part of investing and trading. So possibly it could be because the money that he lost, the money that he has is actually money that he cannot lose, right? Possibly that he might be thinking, if I lose this money, I can't pay for my bills in the future, I can't pay for this or that, or my wife will get angry with me, or my cat will start scratching, me. So I don't know, there could be some other reasons that actually preventing him from taking that trade. So for traders like this, right, I would advise them to actually go on the smallest value for that particular trade. That means if he has $10,000, right, he can just go to, instead of putting in 5,000 for that particular stock, he could just lower it down to just 1,000, the lowest, right? Okay, invest 1,000 in that stock and put a stop loss of, let's say, 20%. If it goes down against him for about 20%, he could actually just take the loss. And if he has $10,000 and losing $200, I think it's okay. It's not too much of a loss, right? So he should slowly get that confidence going. And then over time, when, basically he has gotten that confidence of his system, then he will be able to trigger the trade better. You see, that's another thing, I think, is that these people, they do not even have a system to start with in the first place, right?
Absolutely right. In fact, yesterday, this chap, he was talking to me about, he's already done his, emergency fund. So he has enough money to last a while if anything would happen, right? Of course, his fears are, he's a sole breadwinner, what happens and all that. And I was telling him, of course, you got to manage your cash flow on one part, making sure your safety nets are all in, making sure that, your income streams are okay, your liabilities are low, then you can start investing, right? So we had that long conversation. And one of the things that he was missing, and this was something that I found quite surprising, was the fact that he didn't have an investing plan, that he didn't have a plan, right? I was telling him, okay, so what's your investing goal? Oh, I want $1 million. Great, you want $1 million. Okay, everybody wants more money. How are you going to get there? How are you going to get there? And I started breaking down the different variables, like, your rate of return, your asset classes and all that. And he was like, what is, this is new. Thanks for your help. And at the end of the day, I told him, come up with an investing plan, right? Come up with an investing plan. You can do it passively. You can do it actively. You can do both ways. Have an investing plan. And unfortunately, for the vast majority of people, the question then becomes, how? Of course, today we're not going to share too much about that, how, the snippets of it here and there. But of course, one of the most important things is for people to take action, right? And the biggest thing I want to acknowledge that chap, he's now a good friend of mine, that chap was the fact that he took charge of his finances, the fact that he decided, hey, I'm in an uncomfortable position. I need to have a look at my finances, and he decided to look at his expenses, his cash flow. He started budgeting for investing. He started learning about investments. He engaged me. Taking that first step is one of the most important things when it comes to investing, right? Taking charge of your life, because a lot of the time it's just don't think about it.
Yeah, I mean, for me as well, people do message me on Facebook, or even suddenly I get a WhatsApp, they get my number from someone who knows me. And they ask whether, do I teach trading or what do I trade? And yeah, I'm actually willing to share with people what I've gone through, my experiences. Not all my experiences over the years are good. Definitely there's some that are bad as well. And we learn from our mistakes, right? So, but the most important thing is that, we know what we are doing. We have a plan. We cannot always assume that the market is going to go our way, because most often they're not. It sometimes don't, right? Yeah. So if it doesn't, so what happens? You cannot be actually thinking that no, it's definitely going to go my way, because when it doesn't go your way, you must have an exit plan as well. So if it goes your way, you need an exit plan. If it doesn't go your way, you need an exit plan too, right? Because you have often heard this problem of, I don't know when to take my profit.
Yes.
So, then the market goes up and the guy doesn't know where to take his profit, and eventually the market goes against him, and from a profit of 20-30%, it becomes a loss of 20-30%. So I think you don't want that to happen. So these are the things that you need to know. Eventually, when you take a trade, you must know when to exit, and you must know when to take the profit as well as to take a loss. So that is trading. Of course, if you are investing, some people tell me, but I'm investing, right? I'm investing. So what? If it goes down, one day it will go up. But remember, folks, not all stocks will go up. Yeah. Sometimes there are fundamental changes to the economy. Sometimes there are fundamental changes to the stock. And I can share with you a particular story. Okay, one of my students basically worked for a China company. Okay, she worked for a China company, and the company bought a building in Singapore worth about $150 million. Right? So she worked for the company, and she was in charge of actually marketing the services of that particular company in Singapore. Basically, they turned that building into several services. One is medical, basically, and office space and all kinds of stuff. So she's like in a marketing role, business development for that so-called multi-million-dollar company. And she said to me, I bought the stocks of that company. And I said, how much do you put in? And I put in about $100 over $1,000, she said. And I said, okay. So what happened? Then she said that basically she lost nearly all of her investments. I said, what happened? You work in that company and you were seriously, you know what's happening on the inside, right? Of the company, definitely, right? Because you're working for them. Yes, she said. And I talked to the bosses and the bosses say we're doing well, we're doing good and this and that. But eventually, basically, the business failed. And the stock basically tanked. Okay. She was saying something like, it actually was like $50 per stock. And then I think it went down to like maybe like $1, $2, something like that. So that's like a 90% wipeout, right? So what we can learn from here, right, guys, is that even if you're working in a company and you don't even know, where the stock is going. So you cannot say that, oh, this stock, I know for sure it will come back up. There's no such thing as for sure.
Correct. Right? There is no such thing as for sure.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. At the end of the day, even some of the biggest giants in the world can drop like crazy, right? Look at how, for example, mobile phones, right? When we were in the past 20 years, you just look at certain mobile phone companies that, they were rising stars. Then next thing you know, a fundamental shift happened. Like, for example, when the smartphone was first invented, right? And the rise of that smartphone from a not so smartphone to a smartphone, then there's certain brands out there, certain companies out there that were powerhouses when it came to not so smartphones back then. When the smartphone came in, right? They tried to keep up, but they couldn't. And so were those companies something that would have gone back up? No, you would have just, waited forever and still not go up.
Yeah, you can wait and wait and wait. Like my own experience, okay? Basically, I bought a stock which cost about, at that point in time, 33 cents. It was just a penny stock. And I was just starting in investing in Singapore stocks back in the early 2000s. And that stock now is worth 1 cent.
Care to share? Which one?
Better not. I'm afraid that, the company might not like it, right? But at that point in time, I was just learning, right? And I was just reading the prospectus, and they were saying that they are making. Okay, I can just give a clue. It's basically manufacturing doors.
Doors?
Doors, as in pintu. Ahmad Albab.
Oh my goodness.
Ini betul Ahmad Albab punya company.
On that note, right? I just suddenly felt the age. Like, there are probably some of our viewers who have no idea what that reference is. So just leave it to you guys. Go and Google Ahmad Albab and you'll probably see a piece of history. Adi's not that old, neither am I. But I think that movie is way older than we are, right?
Well, that stock, basically, I bought it when I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
20 years ago. It's still there. It still sends me the company. Basically, the company, how they do it. It's, what do you call it again? The prospectus, or is it company performance?
Their notice to investors, right? The financial statement.
It's like really, even though the stock is now worth 1 cent, but they do send me every year that particular piece of so-called booklet that is quite thick, a waste of paper. But what can I say, right? It's still there, 1 cent. And I think it's going to be delisted from the.
Really?
I think so. But why didn't I sell that particular stock? Is because I wanted to actually see where it would go to, right? And it's a reminder and it's a lesson for me as well, that no matter what, if the stock goes against me, I'm going to take my loss and I'm going to leave.
Oh, that's a fantastic story, man. And the lesson is super, super clear, right? At that point, you didn't have a plan, right? No plan, just dip in, see what happened, right? And that's bad, because ultimately, if we don't have a plan, we're not doing the analysis, we're not getting educated, then it's almost equivalent to gambling. I've made similar mistakes in the past. There was one Hutchison Port Holdings Trust. Remember, I think I was talking about it at one point. And it was IPO fever. Everybody was just buying into IPOs. I was like, oh, okay, sure. And then I lost like 80% of my money. But having a plan, that's so important. I know today's session is more on investing psychology and behavioral psychology. So folks, if you like this kind of videos, this kind of content, let us know in the comments. Tell us what you want to hear, what you want to learn, because ultimately we are doing this just for you. And absolutely, yes, we give you hot stock picks, we give you midweek reviews, we want to talk about our portfolios, we want to help you along the way. But let's also look at the fundamentals of it, right? Trading and investing isn't just picking a random stock and putting money in. It is, looking deep into yourself, understanding your own psychology, your own emotions, having a plan, having rules and strategies that you want to follow. And of course, all of these we actually share within our VIP circle, within our courses. Adi has his active investing course. I've got my responsible investor, passive investing course, and that's all coming in. And so if you want to know more, drop us a text or just go to halalinvestingnetwork.com. You'll find most of the resources there and figure out what you want from life, right? Now, those are my last words for today's session. Adi, what do you want to say?
I just want to say that, I hope you guys will continue with us in our shows and in our sharings and presentations. And I hope that our good experiences as well as bad ones would also be useful for you guys. And as we go forward in looking at the markets, I just wish that everyone will be profitable out there. More wins than losses.
Inshallah. And so folks, here's the thing. I always tell the Fasri families I work with that my goal, my vision is to grow old and grow rich with you. And so folks, we want to do that for you. Join us. Let's all get rich together. Let's all grow old together and inshallah make the world a better place. Yeah, this is Afek, Chief Finance Ninja at Fasri Finance. This is my good friend
Adi from ProTraders Network and with Afiq Halal Investing Network. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you and see you at the next one. Oh yeah. So last week, we do this every Monday morning now, folks. Monday mornings, hot stock picks and weekly reviews. So see you next Monday, inshallah. Okay. Bye. All right, Bess. I think that one went well. I really like the part where we started talking about investor psychology and all that. Because it makes you very relatable. Aku dengar that cerita aku very relatable. Best. Because you see, every week kita berbual stock pick and all that, kita tak dengar, there's very little relatability between the viewers and us. Yeah. But your story there, I love it, man.
I'm glad you like it.
Serious.
It's just being spontaneous and also these are things